I am Daniel Lakis, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book, The Art of Compassionate Business, no other than Mr. Bruno Signaco.
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
I'm fabulous, fabulous like you, Mr. Bruno, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, I'm Dr. Bruno Signaco. I'm a university professor. I'm a consultant. I'm the author of different books. My latest book is The Art of Compassionate Business. I have been advising companies for 30 years on international marketing, and the last few years, like 5 years, on compassionate business. Means that company can get more profitable, can become more profitable, but also this company also can be more human oriented. This means that they can develop a strong relationship with different stakeholders such as employees, customers, suppliers, community members. So this is very important because most companies try to focus only on profits. This means what we call the key performance indicators such as profitability, market share, productivity. And in the book, I discuss some aspects that are not very well researched in business on business topics such as compassion, kindness, gratitude, generosity, and how these positive values affect the business activities, the workplace, the business environment in a very productive way.
Mr. Bruno Signaco, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world and, of course, your knowledge. So, what does it mean to practice compassion in the context of business?
Well, there is a very simple definition of compassion that is when a person can understand how other people think and how other people feel, especially when these people face challenging situations. And this person, when is compassionate, when adopt a compassionate attitude toward others, can also help these people. This means that is understanding how others think, how others feel, but also trying to help them whenever possible. This can be applied to the business environment. For example, a manager can have a chat with an employee, and this employee, supposing that this employee has some problems at home, is about to get divorced. Well, this manager can talk to this employee to understand how this employee think about this issue, the divorce, but also what they feel, what are the main employees' feelings, but also try to help this employee whenever possible. For example, this manager can offer this employee some time off to resolve these family issues, some familial issues such as the divorce, or might offer this employee, for example, to work flexible time. If they have some challenges at home, they know that this is a very important issue for this employee. So this means that understanding that we being compassionate implies understand that we all face challenges and we are all human beings. This is our commonality. We have some positive experiences in the past, some negative experiences also in the past, but also we have some dreams, aspiration, we have some fears, we have some, in some cases, we feel confident. And this human beingness is a commonality that join us together. And when we are serving others, when we are connecting to others in a compassionate way, you are more prone to develop a robust relationship with these people. Why? Because you are supporting them in difficult times and you're trying to soothe their difficult emotion, especially when they face challenging situations. So there are a lot of examples of compassion in business, but I want to give one nice example that is in the healthcare sector. There is a very interesting research study that observed that when doctors, surgeons, when supposing that the patient is going through a very important surgery that is life or death outcome, possible outcomes, life improve, this patient improve, or can die during this surgery. Uh, this doctor has 1 minute compassionate conversation before this operation. This means trying to make this patient quiet, confident that everything will go well. Also try to answer all these patient questions because this patient surely will be very anxious. When this doctor has 1 minute conversation before this surgery, during the operation, these doctors are prone to use less anesthesia. This means that they will use less anesthesia because the patient will be less stressed. And also the recovery, the post-operation recovery period will be shorter as compared with the patient that didn't have this 1 minute conversation with the doctor. So this means that compassion has very tangible effects. It's not only being nice to others, being kind to others, but has very tangible effect. In this case of the healthcare sector, the patient could recover much more easily. The doctor has to use less anesthesia that was probably not necessary in these cases, so much is using so much. So this means that improve people's life. But also this can apply to any other type of stakeholder. Let's suppose that uh, a company is receiving some goods from one of its suppliers in a very late way, means that the delivery was delayed, was delivered late. This company can have a talk to the supplier uh, to understand what happened, why this delivery was late, what were the main reasons for this delivery that was late, and try to support the supplier. When the company is acting in a compassionate way, will try not to penalize the supplier. Might be that in the contrary, there are some penalties that the company could have applied to the supplier for having delivered these goods late. But instead, because the company want to preserve and strengthen the relationship with different stakeholders, in this case the supplier, will try to support the supplier, will understand. For example, the supplier might have said, you know what, yes, we have some delays and we probably overpromise and we couldn't deliver at the time that was promised. We might have to have a longer time in the future, uh, and through this conversation, the company is more prone to support and help the supplier so that the relationship is preserved. So this means that being compassionate implies understanding that we can help each other, and by helping each other we are also helping ourselves, because in life and in business everything is interdependent. We cannot succeed on our own. We need the support from others. So this means that when, for example, the manager is helping the employee, is also helping this manager himself or herself, because this manager need this employee to work in a very efficient way, but also need to this employee to resolve the issues with the divorce at home. When the company is helping the supplier, the company is helping itself too. Why? Because the company is reliant, is dependent on the supplier. They won't be able to succeed without the supplier. So the concept of interdependence is key in compassion, because we understand that we are on this world and we need each other. That we're interdependent. We are not on our own. And in business, this is even more important. Why? Because we want all these stakeholders. What are stakeholders? Are individuals and groups with interest in our company, such as suppliers, employees, community members, business partners, customers. We want all these stakeholders on the company side. We want these stakeholders to cooperate spontaneously with our company and not being against us. So we want this as partner. We want these stakeholders as partners.
So, Mr. Bruno, what are the core values that define a compassionate business?
Well, the core values, well, I mentioned different values in the book, but for example, a very important value is generosity. Many people misunderstand this point because they believe that being generous implies only being generous by giving others tangible things. What we observe in business that most companies are not generous. On the contrary, they are self-centered, they are greedy, they are in some cases they are a bit stingy, and they are focusing in many cases on their own objectives. So what companies want, they want more sales, they want to receive instead of giving. They want more sales, more customers, more productivity, more higher quality levels. They want more. But what I'm proposing in the book is the opposite, is to give more. And because when you give more, according to research, this generates a positive cycle of generosity. This means that generosity begets more generosity. How this works in practice? Well, you can give two type of things. You can give tangible things. For example, supposing that the employee have worked, this employee has worked for a long time over time, has worked very hard to meet the deadline. If the manager behaves in a generous way, this manager will give this employee a bonus, can give this employee a bonus as a reward for this hard work. But also, this is what we call tangible things, a bonus, more money for this employee to spend. But also, the manager can give intangible things. What are intangible things? For example, can give thanks to this employee, can write down, for example, a thank you note as a token of appreciation. But also, in many cases, this manager can give this employee some advice on how to improve their performance in the future, can provide this employee with some mentoring, can provide this employee with some coaching, can provide this employee with some technical information or training. So this means that these are intangible things are so important. In the case of that I mentioned before, this employee that has some divorce issues at home, well, this manager can give an ear, can listen to this employee, can save some time during a busy day to listen to this employee to see how they can work out, and this employee can be helped. So this means that generosity, according to research, and I give many examples of generous companies in my book, begets engenders more generosity. But also another important value principle that I mentioned in my book is the value of gratitude or appreciation. This means that also research shows that when people and companies are appreciative, this begets more positive cycle of emotions and also strengthen the relationship with different stakeholders. Many companies take for granted this stakeholder, take this stakeholder for granted. And for example, when a customer comes to the company, for example, to company stores and buys a product, this company take this customer for granted. Instead of after this customer buying a product, sending a thank you note to this customer, this company take this purchase for granted. Well, this is not good because we're not rewarding positive behavior by taking things for granted. Instead, generosity, when people adopt a generous attitude toward others, they highlight the positive traits, the positive behavior of others, and reinforce these positive traits and positive behavior. And appreciating means that you are recognizing the important value of these people uh, around you, for example, customer, employees, suppliers, business partners. So generosity begets more generosity, and appreciation also bring about more appreciation. There is also a very important principle in business, that is the principle of kindness. Many people will say, kindness sound like a very nice word, but what are the specific benefits for business? Can this bring about specific benefit? Well, when people are kind to each other, for example, in the workplace, and employees can be supportive, kind to each other, they are helping each other, they are supporting, they are sharing information that is valuable for everyone, they are working in a cooperative way. We call in business this type of workplaces, we call psychologically safe workplace. It means they're workplaces where people feel at ease. They feel not stressed, they feel supported, they feel that they can receive some assistance from others, they can give their opinions, they can be themselves. These psychologically safe workplaces have been researched a lot. And in this type of what I call loving workplaces, these loving workplaces, according to research, tend to bring about higher employee satisfaction, higher customer satisfaction. Why higher customer satisfaction? Because employees that are treating each other in a kind way feel less stress, feel more supported, they feel better, they experience positive emotion. And they tend to serve customer in a much more effective way because employees that are happy tend to serve customer more effectively. Employees that are happy make customer happy. But also, these psychologically safe workplaces tend to bring about less stress levels, according to research, lower absenteeism. This means that people want to go to work, and lower turnover. Turnover means that people are not leaving the company. Lower turnover is a positive aspect. Why? Because people are not leaving the company. People want to continue working for this company. When the turnover is high, this means that people are leaving continually this company. This is a bad sign. But also, this psychologically workplace also bring about lower stress levels and also higher productivity, higher trust too. Why? This is very important because people are more prone to work in a cooperative way. This means supporting each other. This means that people won't be keeping important information for themselves, but will be sharing information, sharing resources, supporting each other. And also, this has a positive impact on sales and profits. So, this means has a positive impact of what we call in business the bottom line. The companies are more prone to become more profitable. And why this happened? Because there is a very important principle that I mentioned in the book that is the principle of reciprocity. This is a principle that comes from social psychology that states that when you treat people in a kind way, they tend to respond alike. So when you are kind to others, they are more prone to be kind to you. When you are not kind to others, they are also likely to respond in similar ways, or they might be withdrawing. They might not be cooperating with you. The same applies to other values that we mentioned before, like generosity or gratitude, but this brings about a positive cycle. So this means that when individuals at any level, could be the CEO or could be, for example, a person working and continually interacting with customers, for example, customer service officer, when these people working for a company adopt a positive attitude. This means more compassionate, more generous, more grateful, much kinder to others. This generates a positive cycle of reciprocity. But also, there is another important phenomenon that can be justify all this positivity in the workplace. That is what we call in science emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is a term that was used very well by a famous writer called Daniel Goleman, the author of the book Emotional Intelligence. And emotional contagion is very simple. This means that when someone experience a specific emotion, for example, they feel angry, or they feel sad, or they feel fearful, they tend to infect others around with this emotion. And other people around tend to pick up this emotion and experience the same emotion. This happens because we have in our brains some neurons that are called mirror neurons that replicate this, the body language related to this emotion and pick up this emotion from others. This applies to positive emotion and negative emotion. So this means that let's imagine that we have a workplace where the boss can very angry and start shouting at the employees. And this boss is very angry and nagging at the employees and treating this employee in a very disrespectful way, raising his or her voice to these employees. What we can expect that this anger that is experienced by this boss will infect the whole workplace. So this means that the emotional tone of this workplace will become negative. Now let's imagine the opposite example. Let's imagine that the boss is in a good mood and come to the workplace and start is very happy, positive emotion, and start treating these employees in a very kind way, in a very supportive way, in a very respectful way. So this boss that is experiencing this positive emotion will infect the workplace with this positive emotion. This means that positive emotion and negative emotion are infectious, like a virus. So when you experience this positive emotion, and you experience positive emotion when you are generous to others, when you are grateful to others, when you are compassionate to others, we call this pro-social behaviors. This means that you try to support others. They are others oriented. You are oriented to others. You are not self-centered, oriented to others. When you experience this positive emotion and when you perform this positive behavior, you are obviously bringing about a positive cycle of uh, positivity, more positivity, much more kindness, much more compassion in the workplace. There is an interesting research study that observed that, for example, employees that are treated in a compassionate way, especially when they face difficulties, they feel better. The self-esteem is affected in a positive way, especially when they experience some difficult emotions, when they feel despondent, they are affected in a positive way. Their well-being is also affected in a positive way. Their colleagues, the colleagues that are treating this employee in a compassionate way, are perceived also in a positive light. So this means that this employee has a positive impression, has a nice perception of these employees around him or her, but also the company, this employee perceives the whole company as a company that they, is worth working for. This means that they perceive that this company is valuable, it's a company that is supportive, so this means that this in this employee's mind, the company has a good image. So this means that this brings about a positive ripple effect all over the workplace when you apply any of these principles.
So, Mr. Bruno, what will be your advice? We still have 5 minutes. I have a next guest. So, what will be your advice for new out there that they want to have a business?
Well, that they come from this book is that you have to understand that there are two main aspects in business. If you are working for any company or even a non-profit organization, or you have your own company, or you are advising a company, the three possibilities. We're always connected to organization. Try to think that there are two main aspects in this organization, what we call the business aspect, what we call the quantitative aspect, can be measured, can be counted, for example, profit, market share, productivity, but also what we call the qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be measured, what cannot be counted. For example, we mentioned some of this example, and this qualitative aspect of business cannot be measured precisely. These are generosity, kindness, compassion, gratitude, and also appreciation. So I will advise the listener to ask themselves on a regular basis when they are working for this organization few self-reflection questions. They can ask them this self-reflection question that some of them come from the book, The Art of Compassionate Business. How can I be more generous to others on a regular basis? How can I generate a positive cycle of generosity? How can I be more uh, appreciative to others? How can I appreciate even a small gesture? Because we saw that when you are appreciative to others, you are not taking them for granted. You are recognizing their high value, their contribution. And when you are recognizing people's high value and contribution, they are more likely to keep on contributing in a positive way in the future. So this is another important question. But also, how can I be more compassionate to others? How can I adopt a much more compassionate attitude? How can I be more aware of people that face difficulties? Because what happens in business and in life, that we're always busy, and in some cases we are not aware that we can help others.
So, Mr. Bruno, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Well, they can visit my website, that is one of my website, www.brunosignaco.com, or they can check my LinkedIn profile and they can find my book, The Art of Compassionate Business. This is what you show there is the first edition. The second edition is white cover, and has hundreds of cases of compassionate companies. This book is published by Routledge 2023 and can be found online, offline, white cover, and is obviously a very important book because it has 4 year research on how company can become more profitable, but also how they can build strong, long-lasting relationship with different stakeholders, customers, suppliers, employee, community members.
Mr. Bruno, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Modicon people, see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.